just discussing about the test bed, to which will help us to create the components. So test bed is the one which will help us to create the components, configure our testing modules. So we are used testbed.configuring testing modules, and then we declared it. And then if any of the services have been provided, we can just provide the services here. So now what exactly we will try to do is, I'll just create one. Now we will try to use the testing part of it on the services. So for the part of the services, so here I have created one service that is called as authentication service part of it. So now this is our service. So we have created a service. In that particular service, I created two methods. One is authenticate method and the other one is check auth method. So two methods we have declared. So local storage dot set item. So local storage is nothing but it is your system storage part of it, where you are, I'm setting the value for the property user as walking tree. So this is where I'm authenticating it. And for check authentication, I'm returning that by using local storage dot get item user, and this particular user should be equal to walking tree. So two methods. One is to authenticate it, where I'm setting the value, and then check authentication, where I'm trying to retrieve that particular value. So two methods I have written. So after writing this particular methods, so when I create a service, we will have two things. One is TS, another one is spec. Okay, so now this particular service should be injected into the component. So here I have a component. So this particular service I'm trying to inject into the component by here. So I'm creating an instance for that particular service, auth service as an instance, the authentication service. So now for that, with the help of this particular instance, I am trying to invoke the authentication method. So the authentication method is this particular method I'm trying to invoke it. So after that, within this particular component, one method I have written that gets salary slip. So trying to get the salary slip after authentication. So if this particular user dot check auth, if it is dot check auth, you return the salary slip. If it is not there, then just return not authenticated. Okay, so this is the thing where if it is checking the auth. So what auth is doing here, auth is trying to get the user and just checking whether it is user is equal to walking tree. If it is equal, just return the salary slip. If it is not equal, just give him a message that he is not authenticated. So this is the message what I have written in the service. So now for this particular service, we are trying to write one spec here. So this is the spec of the service. So I'm not going to touch anything in this particular service because I just wanted to test that within the component. So now I'm just opened the component here. So because I'm injecting that particular service into the component. So now I'm trying to import that particular service into the component here. And after importing it, now what I want to do is I need to create an instance for that particular service. So I have created here, let auth service equal to author service. So this is the service what I want to create. So I created an instance for that particular service. So after creating that instance for the service, I need to add it in the provider. So here in the auth, in the providers, I have added auth service. So once you inject the service into the component, you need to present even in the providers also. So I have just given this here, adding that particular service here. Okay, so the next part of it is before each method, what exactly is doing is for every test case, this is going to be executed. So now what I need to do is I need, after injecting into the component, I also need to inject that into the test bed also, because the test bed will not be able to identify what is the service that we are using. So here what I did, auth serve is equal to testbed dot inject. So I am using the method called as inject auth services. So here I am instantiating the auth service for the test bed part of it. So after all these methods are already be predefined. Okay, so you can, when you open that, it will already be existing. So you can just make only the changes that you need to instantiate it. Okay, so after you finish this, component is equal to fixture dot component instance. So an instance of the component has been created. So when I'm telling fixture dot component instance, what will happen? This particular component will have a combination of both the template as well as your component class and a template. So that is where exactly we are trying to use this part of it. So after this part of it, what I'm trying to do here is I'm just calling the service here. So now what I want to do is let salary slip. I'm just declaring one salary slip here. Within the component, I have a sal slip because I just wanted to display that particular salary slip. So I'm just telling if sal slip is equal to component dot get salary slip. This is the method which has been defined in the employee component. So what is this particular method is doing? This particular method is just checking whether he is checking for authentication. If he is authentication, it will display the salary slip. So component dot get salary slip. So expect sal slip dot equal to salary slip. So here, if I have not written any calculations or anything here in this particular part of it. So if you have written any calculation, you can just return that particular value. So I have just written return salary slip. So you can just see that if it is equal to, then it will return the salary slip. So this is what exactly we are trying to do it. So now in this part of it, what exactly we are doing is we are trying to call the service and we are trying to test that particular service. Only that part of it we are doing. So what is that the service is doing? The service is having two methods. One is authentication method and one is a check auth method. I am just trying to test this particular two test cases, that is the two test methods which are there in the service are injected into the component, whether they are injected into the component and the component is able to get that particular value from the service. That is what we are testing it. So get salary slip, and I'm trying to declare an instance for that particular service, and I'm checking that, trying to get that particular method. So if the method is executed, it will just give salary slip. Otherwise, it will just give a message called as not authenticated. So now for that, I have written the spec here. So three things for writing the spec. One is I need to create an object for that particular service. So here is the object for the service. The second thing is you need to add that particular service in the provider. So we have added into the provider. The third thing is you need to instantiate the bed test bed. So auth is equal to testbed dot inject the service. So after you inject the service, now what I'm writing one method should return the value salary slip. So for that particular that I have declared a property is equal to component dot get salary slip. So I'm invoking that particular method, injecting the method. So what is that method is doing? The method is trying to store the information in salary slip. So expect that salary slip if it is equal to salary slip. What is there in that particular method? So we are trying to initialize. So now if I just execute this, so you can just see that. So what was the method? The method name is should return the value salary slip. So now you can just see here should return the value salary slip. So there is no error. So that indicates that you have created a service and you are trying to inject that particular service into the component and the service has been injected. So that is where you're going to test it. So any queries?